Well, hi again and welcome to day 3 of the 5-day do-it-yourself business video course, where I teach you how to use a phone to make great looking videos for your business. And today you're going to be learning how to Let's start off with composition. Starting off with the rule of thirds. Now, you ever noticed in most movies how the characters always seem off to the side, they're never like centered? It's because our eyes, they like to gravitate towards the corners of the image. They don't like to stay centered. It's like they have ADHD or something. So we usually find it more pleasing to look at the corners of the image rather than simply the center. Now, I do say rule, however, it's not as if it's like a set in stone thing and every video needs to look like this. This is mainly a general guideline. So if you don't know anything, stick to this, you'll be safe. So like I said, our eyes find it more pleasing looking at the corners. Now you might be asking yourself, do I record on the left side, on the right side, up, down? Now, this is more of a design thing, but I do recommend you shoot on the right side. And this is because we read from left to right and up, down. So when you're on the right side, it leaves up more room and it's more satisfactory to read the text. Now, this might be me being nitpicky, but that's how I usually do them. But like I said, not set in stone. You might want to stand on the left side. It's no worries. But for the most common uses of rule of thirds, because you're not going to use this all the time. For example, during the course, as you can see, I'm constantly on the center. It's because rule of thirds, it's better if you're doing an interview style video, for example, if you're talking to someone right here, or if you're just recording like a front shot like this and you want to record some B-roll and you want to capture something on the side. So for example, you're doing an outro and you're just standing here and over here is your logo. So it's mainly for interview style videos. And another thing you should know, shoot on the shadow side. Now I'm not doing that. Let me just get on to the left side. Now, as you can see, you should shoot most of the time on the shadow side. So the light is right here and I'm shooting the shadow, not the lid part. And this is, again, usually, not all the times, but most of us find it more pleasing to see the shadow side, which is, again, conditioned by a lot of movies, because most movies, they shoot the actors on the shadow side. Oh, and when we're using rule of thirds, we usually like to stick the grid on the eye of the person, on the right or the left eye, as you can see right now. Now I'm trying to fit it in, but as you can see, the grid is on my eye and I'm on the top right corner of the grid. And the way you do rule of thirds is you simply line up your character with the top corner of the grid. So that's why I said in the last tutorial that the grid is going to be very important so you can follow along. And for the next shot, and the shot we most likely always record at, is the centered shot. As you can see through the grid, I'm centered, I'm completely centered, halfway. Not much to say for this angle, except when's the best time to use it. And that's when, like this whole course, when you're talking directly to the camera. For example, if you look at most presidential elections or courses or things like that, you'll always notice the person dead on center talking to the audience. So if you're like talking directly to the audience, I recommend you always center your shot. Because if you're talking to the audience, like I was before, on the side, it's kind of hard to take you seriously and focus on you. Now during editing, for example, during the rule of thirds, you don't need to constantly have the open and empty space. You can just zoom in while the person is talking and change composition. So you don't need to worry to constantly stay on the rule of thirds. You can zoom in and cut it. You don't need to always stick it on there. Just like for example now, as you can see during the video, I zoom in, I zoom out, no worry. And even when I'm recording centered shot, as you notice, I'm kind of zooming in on myself so that I have white space over here to put on some titles. And next is leading lines. So try and look in your environment for things that are leading the viewer's eye towards you. So for example, right here, I don't have much leading to me except these two pillows. As you can see, the patterns here are pointing to me. Now, it ain't much, but it's still something. However, as you can see in these examples, there are more ways to lead the viewer's eye to your subject. You know, think of it like a roller coaster, you know, like your eyes are following a certain pattern until they get to the subject. Oh, and an extremely important tip, always remember this, try and have contrast between yourself, aka the subject, and the background, because it's always about contrast in art. So for example, if you're shooting in a clinic and you're wearing a white uniform and the background's white and you're the same brightness as the background, it's kind of tiring for the viewer because they don't know where to look and you're kind of blending into the background, so it's not as easy. So you create some depth by contrast, and you can achieve this contrast by either light, color, blur, or set decoration. By blur I mean, like right now I'm focusing on myself and I'm blurring the background, but I also have other types of contrast. For example, you can darken the background so light have less light on it, and you can put most of the light on yourself. That's brightness. Then let's imagine, for example, you have a white shirt on a white background. Simply change it to a black shirt or something that contrasts the background. Oh, and a quick pro tip: if the background is colorful and it's like red or orange or green, you can use complementary colors, which are simply colors which are opposite to each other on the color wheel, you know, like a cute little couple, you know, they complement each other. It's like they say opposites always attract, apparently, in everything. For example, if you look at me, I'm wearing a blue shirt contrasting my orange background, and I'm better lit than the background. The background is also lit, but it's still contrasting the light, as you can see. So there's a lot of dark, there's some light over there. And the next way is set design. So for example, if the background is super messy and there's a lot of things going on, your eyes don't know where to look. So tidy up the background a bit and try and find things to point to your subject. And the final way, which is distance. You don't want to simply stand in front of something. So for example, you don't want to simply stand like literally in front of the wall and next to it. You want to have some separation between yourself and the background. Now for lighting and how we're gonna organize and position the lights, let's take a look at a few methods, shall we? But before doing that, we're once again gonna take a look at a few terms. So, starting off, key light, which refers to the main light that's hitting you. Secondly, fill light, which refers to the light that's filling your shadows. And next is rim light, which refers to the light that's hitting you on the side, separating you from the background. Number 4, it's backlight, which refers to the light that's highlighting the background or giving some visual interest. Number 5, hard light or harsh light, that's the one that's hitting me right now. As you can see, it's almost blinding me, so I'm gonna cover it. And finally, diffused or soft light. As you can see, everything looks much better with diffusion. And you can diffuse with anything. You can diffuse it with a sheet of paper, a shower curtain, anything to put in front of the camera that's the light, I mean, that's transparent and that softens the light a bit. Because as you saw in the first shot, the light was harsh, it had zero diffusion, so everything was lit up. Now it's more focused on me, and it's much softer. As you could see by these examples, lighting is the most important thing next to audio, because a good lighting setup will make your video look 10 times sharper. Look at these examples. In this first shot, I'm recording with a pro camera, but bad lighting. And in the second shot, I'm recording with just my phone with great lighting. As you can see, way big of a difference. Now, you might be tempted to turn the dial all the way up, but that's not such a good idea. Because as you saw right now with a harsh light, it was lighting everything up, and it was at the minimum setting. This is at the lowest as my light can go. So harsh light brings out the skin's more unfavorable features like wrinkles and zits and etc. While soft light actually hides those things and gives your skin a more favorable look. Not only that, with the soft or diffused light, the shadows are less harsh. Now, they are still harsh on me right now because I'm using a grid, because I don't want the light to hit the background, I only want it to hit me. However, when you're using diffused light, the shadows are much softer. And honestly, the only times you should use harsh light is when you want to highlight something and you want to contrast. For example, here on the rim side, I'm actually using a hard light to contrast it more. Now, let's organize the light, shall we? Starting off with Rembrant lighting, which is the position I'm using right now, and it's the most common method. You simply put the light 45 degrees from the side of your subject, and it creates this, as you can see, triangle on the side of your cheek. That's how you know you achieved Rembrant lighting. It's the triangle on the side of the cheek. Now, I could go into the story of Rembrandt and how it was the lighting they used back then, but, you know, let's be honest, we don't care about that, do we? And next is paramount lighting. This lighting is perfect for beauty shots. It was mainly used on women back then, and still now. And it's a lighting method where you simply put the light in front of your subject, and you raise the light up until it's 30 degrees pointing down to your subject. And for the most common lighting position, and the one which is the one I'm using right now, and you'll see almost everyone use, well, I'm kind of using it because I have 4 lights, is the 3-point lighting method. So it's one light here on the side, 45 degrees angle, one light here on the right side, filling my shadows so it's not very contrasty, although I do want the contrast as you saw in the previous videos, and a rim light which is highlighting the side. And I have another one back there that's highlighting the background, but we'll just stick to 3-point lighting for now, or unless you want to buy more lights. But what if you don't have 3 lights? What if you don't have any lights at all? What if the only lights you have is simply the lights at your disposal, which are some random lamps, or I don't know, the sunlight, or the lighting above you? So I'm gonna give you a few examples right now. I'm gonna use just practical lights, which are simply lights which are found everywhere, like lamps, the regular lighting on top of you, anything that's practical, you know, anything that's in there before you. So I'm gonna turn these lights off and I'll be right back with the gear, okay? See you in a bit. Okay, so I am back with the lighting. As you can see, it doesn't get any more practical than this. So we got a cold desk light with a piece of tissue paper just covering it as diffusion, a warm desk lamp, and a crystal ball to see into the future, how it's gonna look, aka an IKEA lamp. So, and both of these are just super cheap IKEA lamps. So let's change up from the pro camera to the phone with this lighting setup, shall we? Okay, so as you can see, this isn't perfect, but it's actually pretty good for what it is. I'm still using my pro gear for audio though, but other than that, I'm using the desk lamp right here on the left side, so it's a bit closer. I'm using the other lamp over here on the right side to highlight the shadows, and I'm using the crystal ball back there to separate me from the background. And if I want to fill the shadows even more a bit, I can use some sort of white sheets like this, so it highlights even more the shadows. And you can use a white wall, for example, if you don't have something to fill the shadows. The settings I'm using on my phone is 800 ISO, 148 shutter speed, and f1.5, because phones don't work that well in low light, so I needed to bump up the ISO a bit more. I'll show you in this next example how it is with using just sunlight and some other practical lights on top. No desk lamps or nothing. So, recapping everything you saw in this video. So, rule of thirds is when you put the subject on the corners of the image, on the top corner favorably, and it's best used in interview style videos. Next is center shots, where you just center the person according to the grid, and it's best used on videos where you're talking directly to the audience. Leading lines, which refer to lines that are leading you to the subject. Shoot on the shadow side, most of the time when you're recording on rule of thirds. Contrast the subject, always, whether it be light, color, distance, etc. Always aim for diffused lighting. Rembrandt lighting, which is simply when you put the light off to the side. Butterfly or paramount lighting, it's when you put the light on top of the subject pointing down. And 3-point lighting method, which is when you use one light on the left, one light on the right, highlighting the shadows, and one light on the back, highlighting the side. So I hope you enjoyed today's lesson, and this was a chunky one. Now you can use any gear to light anything and make anything look good, honestly. Almost anything. And stay tuned to the next lesson where you'll learn how to edit using just your phone, and how I made these cool looking effects as well using just my phone. Like I said, I edited the promo video all using my phone. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll be seeing you in the next one.